I just don't understand how it like goes off all on its own. All I did was just let my hair down and suddenly we're recording. Okay, so hi, how are you? It's really hot in the house. But okay. Back to I forgot the book we're reading. So back to the Living Gita by Swami Satchidananda. We are on chapter 4, the wisdom yoga of action and renunciation. The wisdom yoga of action and renunciation. I'm gonna go straight into the commentary as I caffeinate myself. Now I can see that some of you are like watching. It would be so awesome if you could leave me a comment or give me a like, or just show me that like who I'm talking to, so I can, I don't know, think that it's super cool that you're there. Okay, so the wisdom yoga of action and renunciation. Sloka 1, chapter 4. The blessed Lord said, I taught this indestructible yoga science to Vivasvat, the sun god, who taught it to Manu, the father of humanity. Manu, in turn, taught it to the great sage Ikshvaku. 2. The yoga science would thus regularly pass from teacher to disciple over the ages. Even the saintly kings knew it. But over a long time, Arjuna, the succession was broken and the teachings were lost. 3. Now I'm giving you this supreme secret of yoga because you are my devotee and friend. 4. Arjuna asked, you were born long after Vivasvat. How is it possible that you taught this in the beginning? 5. Sri Krishna said, you and I have taken many births, Arjuna. I know them all, but you do not. 6. The truth is that I am eternal. I am not born. I never die, and I'm the Lord of everything. Still, by controlling the elements of nature, my prakriti, I appear to take birth by my power of illusion, Maya. In this commentary, in this chapter, Sri Krishna gives the reason for his incarnation. 7. Sloka 7. When righteousness is lost, the wickedness prevails. I appear on earth in bodily form. Commentary. Sometimes I'm asked about the coming of the Messiah. The Messiah is the one who brings a message from God. Whenever people forget the true message of God, there's adharma, or unrighteousness. Then God comes to remind, transform, and redirect people back to the proper path. If need be, God even destroys their physical bodies, then allows them to go through another birth to learn better. It's a form of purgation. Why should God come into existence in the physical world? The 7th sloka gives a promise. Whenever there is a decay in dharma, virtue, and rise of adharma, I come embodied to be in the midst of people, to move as one with them, to help the needy people and to help the people who really want to escape from this dilemma. Remember that song by Sheryl Crow? Oh, what if God was one of us? Okay. It's a promise given to us by God. The Bible says God sent Jesus as the Son of God. Why couldn't God come then? Nobody would recognize God because God doesn't even have a name. We say God or He, but who says God is He or she or it? God knows if I go as God, either people won't recognize me or they will be afraid of me because they don't know who I am. I can't just go as me because I'm neither human, animal, nor plant. I'm formless. and nameless. How will they recognize me? So I'll just go to them in ways they can recognize me. That's why among human beings, God comes as human being. When God decides to be in the midst of buffalo, certainly God doesn't come as human, but comes as a buffalo. Among pigs, God comes as mother pig. There are stories of that. We recognize God only when God comes as us. God comes through a form that we understand and with whom we can communicate. When God came to England, God spoke English. When God came to North India, God spoke Sanskrit and Hindi. When God came to Tamil Nadu, God spoke Tamil. There's the promise here. I come to people in their own way so they can understand me and communicate with me. I come to help them get out of this turmoil, take them from the unholy to the holy land, from adharma to dharma, from the unreal to real. What is Israel? In essence, it means that which is real. When the children of Israel wanted to escape the unholy land and go to the promised land, God didn't just come and pull them out. First, they had to feel deeply. Oh, we don't want to be in this wicked place. We want a place where we can practice virtue and truth. The minute you feel that you want help and guidance, someone to save you, then the Savior comes. And nothing can stop God from saving you, neither land nor sea. Even the sea will part. All scriptures also have their esoteric meaning over and above the story itself. When God wants to help you, nothing can stop God. That's the promise that God gives in his oft-quoted sloka. The only thing is you have to follow God. Who thinks about God when everything is comfortable and going fine? You have to be really hungry for God to appear like this for you. You have to ask with all your heart, then it shall be given. Why only then? It's not because God is a miser. Then God waits to see that you're very hungry. Then God can really feed you. That's the secret. If you aren't hungry, even if you give your delicious food, you won't enjoy it. You might even throw it back in my face. So, God waits to appear until you're fit for that and you have the need. Of course, God is here always. It's not that God is coming and going, sometimes here, sometimes away. In one sense, it's all right to talk this way, but where is God actually? Everywhere. Where can God go or come from? But unless you need to feel that presence, you won't be looking for it. It's not that God doesn't want to come, but only when you thirst for God will you relish God's coming. Then you'll know the value of it. When God comes to communicate with you, God just plays with you, talks with you, and sometimes even does mischief with you. God doesn't want you always thinking God is so lofty, because then you put a gap there and lose the benefit. To communicate, God sometimes comes as your playmate and friend. 8. Age after age, I take birth to protect the good, destroy the wicked, and establish virtue. Commentary. I come age after age, Krishna says. This is not the only time I have come. Many times, because the world goes through the same cycles constantly. It's a continuous process. Very often a dharma accumulates and I have to come and clean it away. Then everything goes on smoothly for a while. Then slowly a dharma accumulates again. It's like cleaning our house. Just because we clean the house once, it doesn't mean we won't need to do it again. Some do it once a week, others twice a month. It all depends on how many kids run around or how gently we use the house. The world is God's house and we are all fill in the blank. And we are all children running around doing so many things. That's why God has to keep coming and cleaning up. 9. When people die, who truly know me? Instead of taking another birth, they come directly to me. 10. Many enter my being directly because they're free from passion, fear, and anger, because they take refuge in me, and because their hearts have become purified through austerities that led to wisdom. Commentary. In the next sloka, Sri Krishna speaks of the different human approaches and the aim of each approach. 11. However people sincerely call on me, I come to them and fulfill their heart's desires. They use many paths to reach me. Commentary. It might sound philosophical, but we can make it a little clearer by saying that God, the Supreme One, the Incarnation, is not a person. Then what is God? Simplest to understand is that God is the peace in us. God is the peace in us. We are born with joy. We are peace and joy personified. We are purity personified. Unfortunately, we seem to be ignoring that. We're ignorant of our own true nature. So we run after things to make us happy, to find peace. Behind all our efforts, our basic motive is to find happiness and thus to find peace. All our actions are for that good. They need to be religious. They need not be religious. They need not be religious. We're all working toward that happiness. Even all these wars, fights, and competitions are ways people look for happiness. Even when people steal things, they think they're going to be happy by stealing. So the ultimate motive behind all our action is to find that joy and peace. That's what Krishna means when he says, whatever people do, ultimately their interest is in me. When he says me, it means that peace. I'm that joy. I am eternal. Unfortunately, many don't realize that I, as peace, am already there in them. Sometimes you put on your earrings and then forget them. Then you spend hours pulling out all the drawers until somebody comes, pinches your ears, and says, here they are. Happens to my phone all the time while I'm holding it. It's the same way spiritually. Peace, or your true self, is something subjective. You look about for it outside of you as some object, something different from you. That's why you miss it. If occasionally you seem to be enjoying some happiness or peace, that's nothing but a reflection of your own peace within. It's something like this. You go around your house looking at all the walls. Suddenly you come across your face and say, I found it after looking for it all this time. What happened? You're in front of a mirror. Then you pass by and don't see it anymore. My God, what happened? I just had it and I've lost it. Then you look around, and if you happen to come before another mirror, here, I got it back. It's not that the mirror brings your face. You always had your face. You're seeing it now with your own face. The face is the subject that wants to see things. The subject can never see itself as an object. You are seen now with your own face. The face is the subject that wants to see things. The subject can never see itself as an object. Okay, got it. But at certain times and places, your own self, your true face, reflects on a refined surface. If you feel you're happy because you got something, it's not really the object that brought you the happiness. If it were, then the more of it you get, the happier you should be. But that doesn't seem to be so. Sometimes if you get a little more, you become unhappy. If we imagine a glass of milk will make us happy, we drink it and think, I got the milk, now I'm really happy. But I want to become still happier, so I'll drink a few more glasses. What happens? We get sick. If the milk could bring happiness, the more we drink, the happier we should be. We seem to forget where true happiness is to be found. This is why Sri Krishna says, Whatever your effort is, it's always to seek me, to enjoy me, to feel my presence. That's why there are various religions. Each has a different approach with a different label. We might go into different prayer halls. One person kneels and prays, another falls and prays, a third stands and prays. Maybe you've come across people who roll and pray. What does it matter whether we stand, kneel, fall, or roll? We pray. What does it matter whether we have that in common? Too often we miss what we have in common. That's why we disagree. In fact, all religions have the same goal. In a way, everybody has his or her own religion because our minds vary. Each mind has its religion. Your approach is your religion. Sloka 12. In order to succeed, people worship the gods, devas. Success soon comes by actions in the world. Commentary. When he says gods, he is referring to the minor deities. There's the supreme god, and then there are minor deities. If you approach at that level, you probably get a result more quickly, but you get only that. If you want more, go to the highest. Actually, they're not different. There is one and the same energy coming through different channels. Sometimes the minor one is easier to handle, but for a big purpose, it may not be enough. It's better to aim high. Electricity provides a good example. Electricity comes in thousands of volts. We can't approach it directly. It has to be transformed by step-down transformers. When it comes to our home, it comes as a 110 volts. Then if we get a shock, it won't hurt us so badly. Suppose we say, I'm rich and my house must have bigger voltage. I only want the big current. Then we'll have bigger shocks also. With 110, we can do certain things. But if we want to do more, we need more voltage. If we want to cook with a microwave, probably we'll need 20. The greater the purpose, the higher the voltage. God's power is also like that. It takes time to reach the highest one. You have to learn how to handle it, how to protect yourself before you go to a high voltage transformer. It's like getting friendly with a person of high position. It takes a long time. You can easily be friendly with a junior officer, but sometimes it's worth the waiting and working for the acquaintance of a senior officer. God's energy also works on different levels. Ordinary people are satisfied with something small, but gradually through that, they'll go to the highest one. There's no need to condemn or discourage them. If an opportunity comes, just tell them. This is not all there is. A little further on, you will see much more. Keep on going. By variously distributing nature's qualities, gunas, and activities, karma, throughout humanity, I thus created the 4 castes mental tendencies. Though I'm the author of it all, know that I'm not the doer and I never change. Many have heard of the Hindu caste system. There's much controversy about it, but the original purpose and meaning was beautiful. The castes were grouped according to the capacities and inborn temperaments of the people. The Sanskrit term for caste is varna, which means color. It refers to the color of the mind. And again, the color is according to 3 gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. Sattva is white, rajas is red, and tamas is black. It's not the color of the skin or of anything you can see. It's just symbolic of the mental color. A dull mind is always clouded. That's why if you see all clouds in meditation, you know your mind is tamasic. When it's rajasic, you will see bright colors. If it's sattvic, you will see golden colors. So from the colors, you can guess the caliber of your mind at this time. Ideally, caste is defined according to the color of the mind. People can't easily change from one to another unless they really work on their minds. 14. I'm unaffected by all actions, nor do I desire any results. Whoever experiences this quality in me is also free. 15. Even the ancients who realized this freedom from all duties nonetheless continued to work in the world. Like those sages, you too should continue to act. 16. Even the sages are sometimes confused about action and inaction. However, I'll tell you now what action is, and you'll be freed from evil. Commentary. With this assurance, he goes to the next sloka. 17. Distinguish between right action, wrong action, and inaction. The way of karma is nearly impossible to understand. Commentary. It's important to discriminate between appropriate action, forbidden action, and inaction. Know the three: right action, wrong action, and inaction, or the actionless state. The scholars argue about the meaning of the sloka, but the majority think Krishna speaks of what is to be done, what is not to be done, and what is not doing anything. This is explained in next sloka. 18. The person is wise who sees the inaction in actions and the action in inaction. He or she is a yogi and can accomplish everything. Sloka 4:18 says, the one who sees an action in action and action in inaction is a wise person, a yogi. Having reached this point, you have accomplished everything. You do, and at the same time, do not. You do not, yet still you do. You sleep and sleep not. You eat, yet eat not. So on and on. Two different things that look like opposites. But the wise person knows the difference. You see inaction amid all the actions. That means you know there are two different things in the same experience, two sides of the same coin. One acts, the other observes. The observer is the witness. As witness, you don't act. As an actor, you don't witness. If you are a wise person, you take both positions simultaneously. You know who's doing and who is observing. And because you know how to be the witness, then if you, even through your body and mind, may be doing things you know is not you who's acting. And because you know how to be the witness, then even though your body and mind may be doing things, you know it's not you who's acting. But in the previous sloka, Krishna finishes by saying, the way of karma is impossible to understand from the viewpoint of the onlooker who sees somebody doing something. The onlooker cannot tell whether the person is acting or not acting. Only the one doing the action will know. This is very deep. To understand karma, one has to rise up to a certain level where it is possible to discriminate between correct action, wrong action, and inaction. A simple example is that of the lotus flower which blossoms when the sun comes up. When the sun goes down, it closes. Is it the sun that causes the blossom to open in the morning and close in the evening? Ask the sun, why are you doing that? The sun says, I don't know anything. All I know is I'm here. I don't even come and go. It's you who says the sun rises and sets. I'm never up. I never set. I don't get upset. From your standpoint, you think I'm coming and going. Similarly, a yogi appears to be doing things, coming and going, accomplishing this and that. Sometimes he may even say he's doing things, but in fact, it's nature making things happen. The yogi is a constant witness to it all. That way he or she understands the secret of karma. The yogi perceives action from the state of inaction, at the same time enjoying inaction in the midst of action. This may sound a little philosophical. It's nice to hear, but hearing is not enough. When you reach the stage where you experience this, then you'll say, yes, now I know what he means. Yes. Prakriti. The manifested universe is controlled by the three gunas. Our minds and bodies are part of the Prakriti, which is constantly moved by these three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, balance, restlessness, and inertia. But who are you really? You are the self, you are the knower, you are not affected by Prakriti, you are completely different. That's why you say my mind or my body. When you say my mind has been disturbed, you you're really right. It's not you, but your mind that's disturbed. But if you immediately add, and I'm really unhappy about it, that's not right. That's not the real you. But you insist, I'm unhappy because my mind is disturbed. If you were unhappy, you wouldn't even notice that your mind was unhappy. An unhappy or sick person can't recognize another unhappy or sick person. Only the same person can discern if another is insane. If your very knowing itself were unhappy, you wouldn't be able to recognize the unhappiness of the mind. This means your knowing is always sane. For you are the knower, the awareness, you are aware of everything that's happening in your body and mind. This awareness never ceases to be. That is the constant, eternal, permanent you, the self. But unfortunately, you usually identify yourself with the mind or the body and talk in those terms. I was happy, I'm unhappy, and so on. The true you, which is the self or Atman, doesn't do anything. The Prakriti you, nature operating through the mind and the body, does it. Here's the action and the inaction at the same time. Even though I, as mind body, did this action, I, as self Atman, didn't do it. See? I did it, and certainly I didn't. That means two I's are there. The true I, the self. The true I, the self, knew that my little I, body mind, did the action. Even though you see me, body mind, acting, I, the self, am not acting. Just my mind and body are doing. See? Inaction and action. Do you understand this? If you can keep this in mind, it's surely very helpful. Even when you feel depressed, you can just pull back quickly and ask, who is depressed? Certainly it's not me. I know someone is depressed. Who? My mind? Why? Well, I told it not to do all the mischief. What can I do for it now? See how quickly you can separate away from identifying with your mind. It's very handy. You'll never get lost. You can rescue yourself from drowning in wrong identifications. The very moment you separate from it, the agony is gone. It's like turning off the main switch. You become the person witnessing. Even with pain, you burn your finger, feel the pain, then quickly take it from the fire. Then inquire, pain, where does it come from? Who is complaining of pain? Who got burned? Who knows that? As you start analyzing the pain disappears. But when you identify with the body and mind, which experiences the pain, you're in agony. The minute you separate from it and start analyzing, it no longer affects you. If you get this point, it's very useful in day-to-day life. There's no need to get lost in all ups and downs. I think this is the part where sometimes we tend to misinterpret this information, where we detach from our experiences, and that is not a healthy psychological state. It doesn't mean that you want to go through life avoiding feeling pain, but it means that there's also the sense of awareness that you're not just pain, that you're aware of this pain. This is the subject-object type of relationship. So feel that pain. Recognize that you're experiencing pain and work on moving forward. Don't necessarily disengage from your mind and body just because you are this God within this physical name and form. 19. That was my personal commentary. 19. Whatever you do without personal desire for the results is called wise by the sages. Your actions are pure and you know the truth. A wise person commentary. A wise person is the one who seems to be doing things without any desire to do them and without any desire for the result. He or she seems to be doing things, but the actions of the wise person are all completely fired by the absolute truth, by real knowing. After you gently roast seeds, they still might appear to be like they were before, ready to germinate. They keep their shape, their name and appearance, but they don't germinate. They've lost the germ of their desire. Because there's no desire, the seed doesn't grow. From all appearances, you might appear to be acting and doing everything. People naturally might think, see, you're doing the same things we do. Sometimes you seem to be quite eager to get things done. If it doesn't happen, you seems to be scolding us. But remember in earlier sloka, chapter 3, sloka 25, an enlightened person does things with the same zeal as an unenlightened person, Arjuna, but without attachment, and thus guides others on the path of selfless action. Moreover, the enlightened people don't act because they personally want to do these things. Nature's force functions through them in a special way. They are catalysts. Some chemicals are used as catalytic agents. They don't have any special purpose for themselves. They're used for getting something done. Once that is achieved, they go away. That's a catalytic agent. During welding, the rod is coated with flux as a catalytic agent. Its purpose is just to make the metal flow freely. The flux is not there for the sake of the flux, but just to fulfill a purpose and go away. Sometimes you see people in that role. That's what's meant here. 20. Because you have let go of attachments to the fruit of your actions, you're even content and have no dependencies. You are ever content and have no dependencies. Though you appear to be doing things karma, actually you're not the doer. 21. Because you don't want anything for yourself, and because you have control of your mind and ego, and because you do not consider possessions as your own, you're completely pure despite the actions of your body and mind, which move according to the forces of nature. 22. Because you're content with what comes of its own accord, and because you envy no one, and because you have gone beyond the pairs of opposites and maintain your equanimity in success and failure. Even though it appears that you're doing things, you're not bound by your actions. 23. When you let go of all attachments and experience liberation, your mind becomes absorbed in the truth. Then everything you do becomes a sacrifice, yajna, and all your karma melts away. 24. The offering itself is Brahman, the oblation of Brahman, which is offered by Brahman into the fire of Brahman. The only one who sees nothing but Brahman in all that he or she does certainly realizes Brahman. Commentary. A very important sloka, but there's not much to say because it's all Brahman ultimately. When performing a devotional offering or worship, the various parts are mentioned: the fire, that which is offered, the water or oblation, the fuel or clarified butter, and the one who's offering it. Everything, every part, and the entire sacrifice is ultimately Brahman. That's what it means. At one level, you see everything as one, no dividing one part from another. Then there's not somebody offering something into some fire and somebody getting the benefit. All are the same. Differentiation is gone. Then you realize the oblation is Brahman. The clarified butter is Brahman. The person is Brahman. Offering into the fire is of Brahman. So onto Brahman, everything goes. Actually, taking a meal is a puja, a devotional offering. If we rise to that level, we understand the meaning and experience it when we eat. The food is Brahman. The hand that takes the food is Brahman. The mouth that chews is Brahman. The alimentary canal is Brahman. The person who eats is Brahman. The process of eating is also Brahman. Everything is Brahman. One day we should all experience this truth. Until then, if we think this when we eat, it's useful. 25. Some yogis make sacrifices to the devas, gods, angels, while others offer their very selves as sacrifice to Brahman, the absolute God. 26. As an offering, some restrain their senses, such as hearing, seeing, tasting, while others sacrifice sense objects, such as sounds, etc., that otherwise would be enjoyed by the senses. 27. Motivated by wisdom, still others offer their senses and vital energy prana as a sacrifice in the form of self-restraint. 28. Some of their wealth as a sacrifice, or their suffering, or the fruit of their yoga practices. Others who tend toward austerity and extreme vows offer the fruit and knowledge of sacred study as their sacrifice. Among those primarily interested in control, 29, among those primarily interested in control of the life force by restraining the flow of the breathing pranayama, some offer the out breath as sacrifice to the in breath, and the in breath to the out breath. 30. Others who restrict their diets offer the additional vitality of such austerity as their sacrifice. All these yogis are purified by yajna, which utterly destroys their sins. Commentary. The incoming air, the outgoing air, the retention, it's all Brahman. Your breathing itself becomes a sacrifice. It's happening anyway, just come conscious of it, that's all. Actually, the breath is sacrificing itself for our life support. It goes in and it gets burned. If it didn't sacrifice itself, we wouldn't be alive today. The incoming and outgoing breath are examples of sacrifice. 31. This world and the world to come are for those who sacrifice. Those who partake of what remains of sacrifice go to Brahman, God. 32. In many ways do people sacrifice of themselves and reach God. Each sacrifice is according to their karma. Understand this well and you will be free. 33. Giving knowledge is even better than giving wealth, Arjuna, because all other sacrificial actions lead to the attainment of knowledge. Commentary. I have stars next to this paragraph. Let's see what it says. Now Krishna talks about giving wisdom to others. The charity of knowledge is called jnana yajna. You can give many material things to people, but these won't last long. But if you can give wisdom, it will save their souls, because it takes them out of their cycles of births and deaths. If you give them food, they're all right for a few hours, but then they'll have to go to somebody else for more food. If you give them some academic education, maybe they can earn some money. They can do a job and earn some dollars, that's all. But if you give wisdom, it will save their souls. It will free them from misery in life. So jnana yajna, the gift of wisdom, is the best gift. Okay, 34. If you seek enlightenment from those who have realized the truth, prostrate before them, question them, and serve them. Only then are you open to receive their teachings for sacred knowledge. Commentary. This sloka shows the qualities of a student. Sri Krishna says, become enlightened by surrendering. By prostrating you annihilate annihilate your ego. Okay, never mind. Also, by questioning and service, only then will the wise instruct you in that knowledge. They won't until then. That means you prove yourself to be a qualified seeker by humbling yourself and by asking. To get such knowledge, you can't just simply say, "Could you give me that?" In this case, literally cry and beg for it. That's what prostrating means. But just because you ask doesn't mean you accept it blindly. If it doesn't suit your intelligence, ask. Why is it so? Why this way and not that way? A seeker has every right to question, but with humility. Receiving this knowledge is impossible without the humility. You are the receiver. The teacher is the transmitter. Humility allows you to receive, but after you receive, if you have doubts or you don't understand something, you have every right to question. A good seeker should question. It is also the duty of the teacher to convince the student. If the student isn't convinced, he or she won't be a good student. If the teacher can't convince the student, maybe this particular teacher isn't the right one for that person. But to be convinced, the student must listen. If you have your previously fixed opinions and then say, "Come on, convince me," it's not possible. You have to be open-minded. You have to receive first. People sometimes ask questions, and as you answer, they'll be planning to ask another question. They won't even hear the answer. Moreover, they want the answer to be in such a way that they can agree with it. Such people are not really asking questions to learn. They're just testing the teacher. Prostrating doesn't always mean you fall at someone's feet. It's mostly an attitude of humility. You feel that you don't know that much, and you trust that the teacher knows a little more than you. You place yourself below the teacher and you receive. Receiving knowledge is possible only if you can humble yourself. To understand, you have to stand under. That's what Arjuna does. "I don't seem to know anything," he says. "I've lost my intelligence, I've lost my mind, I don't know what to do, please direct me." Then Sri Krishna starts talking to him. It's easy to pour something into a mind that has been emptied and says, "I'm empty, please pour." Even scientifically, this is so. One beaker is empty or has just a little water in it. Another beaker is full of water. If the empty beaker wants more water from the full beaker, a tube is connected, a kind of siphon. If the tube is filled with air, the water won't flow. The tube should be a vacuum. Then the water is sucked in. The empty beaker can receive the water only as long as it is below. If the receiver says, "I should be equal to you," then the flow stops. When it says, "Actually, I'm a little better than you," then it loses whatever it had. It's simple siphon system. Now you see how scientific religious teachings are. The flow of electricity is another example. Did you know that this human body itself is a magnet? Every magnet has two poles, north and south. Normally on a map, up is north and down is south. If you're a magnet standing upright, your head is your north pole and your feet are your south pole. If you have only a little magnetism and there is a powerful magnet somewhere close by, where would you go to get some magnetism? Which part of you should rub which part of the big magnet? Your head, the north pole, should rub the feet, the south pole of that big magnet. That way you can draw the magnetism. Okay, which part of the part of you should rub which part of the big magnet? Your head, the north pole, should rub the feet, the south pole of that big magnet. That way you can draw the magnetism. Okay, got it. This is another reason for prostrating. Put your head on the teacher's feet. Don't think it's such a joy for teachers to see many people falling at their feet. They get drained. It's not that easy to be a guru. Very soon they will be totally drained unless they know how to bring in more energy. That means they should put their heads somewhere under the greatest feet. If they say, "I know everything, now I can give to you," they are no longer holy people. Soon They'll be hollow people. The more teachers give, the more they should know how to receive from higher still. Probably because students can't see those greater feet. They see the gurus as the big magnets. But the gurus know of another bigger magnet which they keep hanging on to while students hang on to them. That way they aren't drained, and whatever comes to the guru is passed on to the students. Of course, just prostrating and questioning is not enough. Service is also necessary. Serve your teachers, that means obey them and do what they say. Service is very important. Some students say, I came only to learn. Why should I work for you? I can work anywhere. But service, you show your obedience and the readiness of your mind to receive. Through service, the teacher imparts the teaching. Here's like this other thing, don't lose your intellect while you're obeying a guru. Like, keep your intellect intact. There are things that gurus can do that are not right, or can be not right. Like, you have to stay awake. You have to discern what is asked of you is not always what you should do. Legal things, crime, those types of things. Our lives, they are our responsibility, and the choices we make are our choices. So it's very important to be able to discern right from wrong. Mere words are not enough. Physics and chemistry cannot be taught just from the books. The student has to go into the lab and work. In the case of spiritual knowledge, the lab is the entire world, wherever you are. The teacher will say, go and wash that toilet. It's karma yoga. In the olden days, when disciples went to gurus, they seldom saw the guru for years. They only saw a few of the senior students. Whether king or peasant, they were simply asked to do some work. Okay, you've come, cut the lawn. Gather some grass for the cow, bring some wood for the kitchen, and that's what they do. There was a case in the Vedas where the student approached a teacher who said, here's a cow, go and let her graze. Stay there until the cow multiplies into 100. When there are 100 cows, come to me again. See how long it took. A normal course of study under a teacher was 12 years. You might say that was way back in the bullock cart age. Now we're in the jet age. Can we learn in 12 minutes? I'm sorry, no. Truth is the same always. Actually, you can learn it in 12 minutes if you have the right attitude. But it still takes a long time to rub, scrub, and clean the ego to get the proper receptivity of mind. It's covered with so much mud. To empty the mind and clean, it takes a long time. 35. When you realize this truth, Arjuna, you will never be confused again, and you will clearly see that all things in creation are part of you and part of me. 36. Even if you had been the worst sinner on the raft of this realization, you will certainly pass over the ocean of sin and evil. 37. Just like a roaring fire reduces its fuel to ashes, the fire of your realization of the truth reduces all your karma to ashes. Undoubtedly, there is nothing in the world that so purifies you as the awakening of true knowing. Whoever rises up through yoga in time realizes this truth in his or her own heart. Another important qualification for the student is shraddha, wholehearted sincerity, complete and total interest in what you're doing, true zeal. 39. Anyone who has sincere belief and devotion and takes control of his or her senses will rise to the wisdom, which in turn leads to the realization of profound peace. 40. Because of ignorance, some people have no sincere belief and are constantly skeptical. They're ruined. A mind like that is unhappy in the present and the future. Commentary. What a great truth he gives here. When even an atom of doubt gets into your mind, your first and foremost duty is to remove it. Doubt enters like a drop of poison falling into a pot of nectar. That poisonous doubt can arise anywhere, between friends, in the family, in your business partnership, between you and your teacher, or in your own practice. The first duty is to remove the doubts. Unless they're proper doubts. 41. And if you don't know if the doubt is proper, you seek wise counsel elsewhere. Someone objective. 41. If you dedicate all your actions so your work becomes karma yoga, all remaining doubts will be destroyed in the fire of your awakening. At this point, all bondage falls away and you remain poised in the true self. Commentary. If all that you do is karma yoga, selfless action dedicated to God or humanity, and there's no doubt in your mind, automatically true knowledge dawns and nothing in this world binds you. Such person is liberated. 42. With the keen blade of knowledge, lots of stars here. With the keen blade of knowledge, sever any doubts due to ignorance that you may still hold about Atman, the true self, which abides in your own heart and thus well established in yoga. Stand up, Arjuna. Thus ends the fourth discourse of the Bhagavad Gita, the science of yoga, entitled The Wisdom Yoga of Action and Renunciation. It's a lot, right? It's like a couple of pages, but then there's information. You know, when if you ever study something like this with a teacher at online class, or an ashram, or like a guru, and you sit at his feet and you learn, you don't go at the speed that I'm reading this book, and each sloka is dissected into several sessions. You could be like just discussing sloka 1, 2, and 3 for 9 hours. This is really just to get your toes a little wet. These slokas have a lot more wisdom in them than we're covering. But in any case, that's for someone who wants to really pursue the science of yoga. For in general, the scriptures can take many lives to understand. Okay. Om.